With their backs against the wall in a game which has turned out to be extremely important in the World Cup qualifying grand scheme, the U.S. men's national team came out against Los Ticos of Costa Rica in a front of a really great Columbus crowd to win 2-1, putting us, I believe, at second place currently in the World Cup qualifying standings and kind of settling things down. And boy, this was a really conflicting game for me for a lot of reasons, and we'll get into all of that when we go through kind of the plays that made this game what it was. But for me, man, that Panama game was so bad, and there were so many bad decisions that seeing this team play really one of the best games that I've seen them play in some time was just really troubling, because it just felt like it's so easy, and we make it so difficult at times. I mean, let's start with the starting lineup. I mean, we get Zach Steffen in at goal, which was kind of a surprise. You know, a lot of people were calling for that. Sergino Dest, Miles Robinson, Chris Richards, and Anthony Robinson were the back line. That's the back line that everybody wanted to see, so I was excited to see Chris Richards in there. Tyler Adams, Yunus Musa, and Weston McKennie come back for that MMA midfield that's just been fantastic every time we've seen it together. And then a front line of Weah, Pepe, and Aronson, the three players that we wanted to see in the front line together this entire window. But the weird thing, of course, is that Weah wasn't supposed to start. Paul Arriola was supposed to start, but he picks up an injury like 10 minutes before game time that throws Weah into the lineup. And then Weah comes out and is probably the best player of that front three throughout the game, and it's just a perplexing thing. It's this eternal frustration that we have, where I just don't know how you can look at Paul Arriola and Tim Weah in training together and choose to start Paul Arriola over Tim Weah. And I don't want this video just to be like me bashing Greg Berhalter for like 20 minutes, but it is a troubling thing as we move forward. What are we seeing? Are we galaxy braining it that much? Or are we playing 4D chess whenever we really should be playing checkers? Are we saying like Paul Arriola gives us something that Weah doesn't in this one little area, so we should play him, and not like taking a step back and just looking at this wonderful, graceful Champions League champion of France player that just has the ability to do what he did in this game, which is just score a tremendous goal and just pull something out that Arriola just doesn't have. I just don't understand that, but that's neither here nor there. Let's get into the timeline, but first, welcome to the Yank Report show. We talk about the U.S. men's national team. If you want to support the channel, hit that like button. If you're new here, hit subscribe. Join us for more videos in the future. If you really want to support the channel, become a member, have access to the badges, get priority in the comment section, get behind-the-scenes videos, get access to the videos first, all that good stuff. In the first minute, a Costa Rican defender clears to a Costa Rican forward who wins a header over Chris Richards. Now, you know, Chris Richards, one of his knocks is that he's not great in the air, and we saw that a few times here. He's not like a dominant aerial defender in the same vein as like Miles Robinson or even John Brooks, Matt Miazga, even like a Weston McKennie, those types of players. But he won his fair share of headers, and we'll talk about Chris Richards a little bit more, but I don't want to dwell on Richards losing that header too much. Steffen comes out and heads the ball clear in a really wild play. Not something you see very often, not something we'd ever seen Matt Turner do. More on Steffen versus Turner later, but this was a weird move. A Costa Rican attacker, Mariota, collects Steffen's header along the U.S. right flank, and he sends it across that finds an open Costa Rica attacker. His volley beats Steffen. It's 1-0 U.S., and this was a crazy play because it very much looked offsides, but Sergino Dest was holding the player on offsides because outside of the play, he was basically, I believe, either on the touchline or behind the touchline, so everybody was on sides. A lot of frustration. The big question here is like, look, I'm not a goalie expert, so I don't know everything about the position, but it certainly felt like a ball that Matt Turner would have saved. And that sort of brings us to the Matt Turner versus Zach Steffen discussion, whereas Zach Steffen, of course, is way better in distribution than Matt Turner, but Matt Turner just at no point during his U.S. and men's national team tenure have we seen Matt Turner show even an ounce of weakness in front of net whenever it comes to shot stopping. He's been a secure blanket for that. And it's so frustrating and so apropos in the U.S. men's national team context that these two players with these two inherent weaknesses, or at least perceived weaknesses, it seems like every time we play one, we see that weakness just get blasted, and it's just like almost like a Greek tragedy drama play where the hero, his weakness turns up in the worst moment every game. It's very frustrating. In soccer, the game is all about who has more goals at the end of the game. And for a team like the U.S. Men's National Team, who as of late have really struggled scoring goals and have been winning games 1-0 or, 2-1, as in this case, giving up an easy goal or having a keeper that doesn't win you games is a scary thing. So we have that decision to make, whether it's Matt Turner, who seemingly, we don't know whether Turner would have saved this, but we've seen Turner save opportunities like this in the past. But he doesn't have that silky smooth buildup, and we'll see some Turner buildup later on. I highlighted one really brave pass that he made later on in the game versus Zach Steffen. And I think the real answer to all of this is Steffen needs to be playing. I feel like if Steffen's playing week over week and he's not the backup at Man City, maybe these types of moments where he's shaky in defense and those saves are a little bit scary and he's letting balls in that maybe Turner doesn't let in, maybe he closes that gap a little bit more. If Steffen's not getting regular playing time, then we're going to continue to see these shaky moments. We've seen him virtually in every game that he's played for the national team. So this debate rolls on. Let's move ahead. OneFootball is the ultimate source for news and information about your favorite teams and players and anything you want to know about the magical world of soccer. I know I have all of my Chelsea news comes to me every day. I get a notification about what Tuchel's up to. So if you want to never miss anything with your favorite team, again, download the OneFootball app. There's a free link in the description. By clicking that link, you will not only be getting access to all the latest news and information about your favorite teams and players, but you'll also be supporting a company that supports content creators like the Yank Report. So thank you to OneFootball for sponsoring the video. And in the 5th minute, Robinson plays up to Musa, who breaks lines to play in Dest. Dest attacks the right flank with Weah ahead, making a run to the right corner flag. Dest cuts in to attack the Costa Rica center back. Dest dribbles the center back and plays to Weah, who puts in a slow rolling cross to Aronson at the near post. Aronson is beaten to the cross, but Dest collects the clearance and recycles to Adams. The U.S. recycles possession. I highlighted this moment just because it was so great to see, first of all, Sergino Dest getting put in that position where he can really shine, where he has the option to take the flank or run at the defense and get in that center position. The chemistry between Weah and Dest all night was fantastic. Best game as a U.S. Men's National Team player for both of them, for me, from my perspective. Of course, Weah hasn't had as many minutes as Dest up to this point, but Weah looks so comfortable, Dest looks so comfortable, and this is just two players playing at a really high level that understand how to interact in that channel, and that was just devastating all game long. But I think the best part of all of it was that after Costa Rica defends it, the U.S. just absorbs the ball, works it back around, and we create another opportunity right after that. And I think this is where the MMA midfield really shines, and something that we just haven't seen from the U.S. in some of the past games. We certainly didn't see it in Panama. In the 12th minute, we get another really nice moment where the U.S. had been circulating possession for a while. I mean, even watching the replays, it's hard to see if like Costa Rica had like 2 attacks. The possession must have been crazy in favor of the U.S. I don't know the statistics, but the U.S. had been circulating possession for a while. Dest receives the ball in the right channel, and he turns upfield. Then he cuts in and plays to Pepe, occupying a Costa Rican center back, and Pepe immediately lays off for Weah into space in behind the Costa Rican back line. Weah centers to Dest in the middle, but the ball is cut out. I highlighted this play because after the game, I heard some people saying, like, this wasn't a great game for Pepe. We didn't see Pepe. Pepe didn't get on the end of anything. He wasn't finishing. And, in fairness to Pepe, he came out so hot with 3 goals in 2 games. That's really hard to keep going. But I think we saw a handful of moments. There was like 3 or 4 moments where the U.S. was able to find Pepe whenever he was occupying center backs during the build-up, and he made some really nice layoffs, layups that I haven't really seen since Josie Altidore was a forward for the U.S. In the 18th minute, I just highlighted this little moment because it was just so silky smooth. Yunus Musa turns a Costa Rican defender on the sideline. Nothing comes of it, but come on, man. In the 22nd minute, after a silky smooth build-up move featuring one-touch passing from Miles to Richards to McKennie to Adams to Weah to Dest, Dest plays in a cross to Pepe that's cut out. The rebound is collected by McKennie and played out wide to Antony. Antony plays a cross into Pepe's, whose header flashes wide. Dest collects the ball on the corner flag and recycles possession. Probably the only moment that I saw from Pepe where he had a chance at goal. And to be fair, man, we've seen Pepe put these away for FC Dallas. He's got an ability to put, even though it wasn't a great angle for him, he's so accurate with both his shot and his headers that any half chance is a chance, and it feels threatening when he's on the field. Now, I wonder in the first half, we saw the U.S. just trying to be so good in front of goal, and I wonder how much that has to do with Keylor Navas being in the net and the U.S. knowing that this guy's just a legendary keeper, the longtime keeper for Real Madrid, the longtime keeper for PSG, and he's been so difficult historically for the U.S. to beat. And I wonder if all the last few days they've been hearing about the Goliath that is Keylor Navas, and they just tried to be absolutely perfect with their shots and end up doing what Pepe did here, which is putting the shot real wide. In the 24th minute, we get our first goal, and this is another silky smooth build-up movement from the U.S. Finds Weah streaking down the left flank. Weah cuts back to cross to a trailing Yunus Musa attacking the box. Musa gathers the ball and places Dest at the top of the box. Dest squares up a Costa Rican defender before unleashing fury from his left foot, beating Navas with a far post banger. 1-0 USA. And the camera angle from this was so perfect because the camera angle was like right behind Dest, so we got to see that ball just explode off his foot and curl away from Navas straight into that corner. And just what a moment. I mean, I've definitely been critical of Sergino Dest for his play away, and sometimes in those games where things aren't going well for Dest and he kind of shuts down on us. But in those moments where things are going great for Dest, he's just a special player. We've talked about this before. The U.S. has a few guys at this point that are just special players that can just win you games whenever you shouldn't win games. That can just make things happen for you. And Sergino Dest is certainly one of them. In the 31st minute, Weston McKennie picks up a ball in midfield and plays a line-breaking pass into Yunus Musa. Musa plays across to Pepe, but the cross is broken up. Just highlighted this play to show Weston McKennie once again that he doesn't get credit for being like a guy that can play in these long passes from the back, but he does it regularly. He had a really nice one against Jamaica. He has this in his locker. It's not something that he does all the time, but it seems like probably 2 or 3 times a game, Weston McKennie is going to play a really nice long ball. Now, in the 36th minute, there's good Weston and then there's bad Weston. And in the 36th minute, Weston just kind of lost his mind for a moment there. Throughout the game, he'd been a part of some really nice build-up moves and really nice plays, but in the 36th minute, he kind of just kept kicking it right to Costa Rican defenders. He did it once, and we regained the ball, and it got back to him, and he did it again. And this time, the Costa Rican attacker regained the possession in the attacking third and immediately played a ball into the box. Musa slides to intercept, but the ball slips in behind for a Costa Rican attacker. Chris Richards slides in and takes the ball away before the Costa Rica attacker can react. Stefan collects the ball. So it ends up being nothing. Now, this was a moment where some of the commentators were saying this could have been a penalty. You know, there's no VAR in CONCACAF, and that kind of came up big for us. There was another moment later in the game where Chris Richards slide tackled somebody, and it very well could have been called a foul. Very well could have been a yellow card, but it ends up being nothing. So we kind of got away with the one in this moment. I don't know. It seemed like Richards kind of slid in and gained the ball, but I'm no referee expert, so maybe you guys can let me know your thoughts on that one in the comment section. But a shaky moment, and I put the blame for this one on Weston McKennie because he just gave the ball away in the back. So we get to halftime, and the U.S. has pretty much dominated this game except for that goal that Costa Rica got in the first minute. Sort of that same old story from the U.S. men's national team where we can dominate large stretches of the game, but scoring those goals has been difficult. It's been really tough to just to unleash that scoring movement. A tough goal given up by Stefan there. Just a moment, realistically, a moment that you can kind of expect in these CONCACAF qualifiers because they're so crazy. There's so much emotion and tension on the field, and this is why you've got to get results whenever you can. This is why you can't just put out any team against Panama and just give up that game because anything can happen in a World Cup qualifier. You know, corner kick headers go in, just anything can happen. So you can't just give points away, and this is why tensions were so high after halftime. I mean, it's 1-1, and as a U.S. fan, we're nervous because we can't tie this game. We have to win. We have to find a goal. And we've been building, we've been finding moments, but until that breakthrough came, it was scary, it was tense, and my stomach was in knots. Again, in the 53rd minute, we have a really scary moment where McKennie and Adams trip on each other, giving Costa Rica a clean break with only Richards and Miles in behind. It was like a 3-on-2 situation, and Miles and Richards were flat-footed, so it was scary. But fortunately, Costa Rica had a really terrible pass that just kind of killed the break. A ball in behind there would have been really scary. It was a scary moment that Costa Rica just couldn't seize upon. They'll have an even scarier moment later on, but just kind of shows that even though the U.S. was dominating for large stretches, Costa Rica did have their moments, and if we're playing against a better team in that situation, if that's Tecatito or Lozano or Davies or somebody like that, that could easily have been a ball in the back of the net for the U.S. Also, in the 53rd minute, we had a really nice wide shot of the field, so I took a screenshot there just to kind of show the U.S. shape in possession and in the buildup, and it's something that we saw a lot throughout this game, and it's basically the two center backs in the back, but instead of the fullbacks being kind of close by, the fullbacks are pushed way up the field, and we have our two of our defensive midfielders kind of tucked into that space in the channel. So in this particular instance, we had Tyler Adams and we had Yunus Musa, and Weston McKennie was in the middle of the field. And then our wingers, our nominal wingers, are actually tucked into the channel further up the field, and they would kind of come back and show for the ball, and sometimes they would interchange with the midfielders and stuff like that. And it shows kind of the intent for the U.S., which is to get the fullbacks way up the field, and that worked really well in this game. Both Anthony Robinson and Sergino Dest had a lot of space and a lot of opportunities. But it also kind of shows for me, like, I know there's a hot debate right now about where Gio Reyna should play, and there's a lot of folks out there that feel like he should play at the 8. And they're saying, like, when Gio plays out on the wing, he's kind of lost. We don't get the most out of him, and I understand that. And to be fair, I would like to see Gio play as an 8, just to kind of see what it looks like and see how that affects this squad, especially whenever we have all of our top players available. However, I do think that whenever I think about Gio Reyna, where I really want him to receive the ball is where we see the wingers lined up in this instance. We saw Tim Weah many times in this game pick up that ball in that channel, in that space, and be able to turn and operate. And that's where I want Gio Reyna to have the ball. I want it in the final third. If he's playing as an 8 and he's dropping back into these spaces that, say, Yunus Musa is picking up the ball, he's operating, but he's operating in the middle third of the field, and he can be effective in that space. But for me, Gio Reyna is not really a Kevin De Bruyne. For me, he's more like a Kai Havertz, a player that wants to operate in those half spaces and turn and attack the goal in the final third. And we've seen him score a lot of goals for Dortmund doing that, and for the U.S. men's national team. So it's not as cut and dry for me. I don't think that the U.S. wingers really operate on the wings all that much, and especially if things are going right. So for me, I still prefer to see Gio in that space. I think that's where he's most effective and most dangerous. Granted, there are moments where the 8s get into the final third. We saw Weston McKennie operate there a lot. We've seen Musa occasionally get into that space. So there is opportunity there for that. It's just a lot of the time our 8s are either in that middle third or in the back, kind of creating that build-up. And that's not really where I want to see Gio Reyna. So it's something to think about moving forward. In the 55th minute, we hit the really most shambolic moment of the match, kind of a comedy of errors for both squads. Miles Robinson shapes for a pass to Richards on the midway line, but his really lazy pass is not a great one, and Brian Ruiz beats Richards to it. Ruiz has a clean breakaway on Stefan's goal, but Miles Robinson is able to run down the 36-year-old Ruiz, retrieve the ball before Ruiz has a chance to shoot. Just a really tough moment for Miles Robinson, a player that rarely has tough moments, a player that's been really dependable for this squad for a long time. But it shows kind of where Costa Rica is at right now, where they just had so many older players on the field. And it's almost difficult for me because I've been watching Costa Rica play the U.S. for a long time. And Brian Ruiz has been such a devastating player against the U.S. for so long. And to see him at this age where he's just not, he's not the horse that he used to be, man. And time is tough on players. So it just shows where Costa Rica is in this moment and why we should kind of take this win with a grain of salt. Later on in the game, we see guys like Saborio and Bolaños. And I hated Bolaños. That guy would come in with his headband, and he just always seemed to make something happen against us. And at this point, these guys are pushing 40, and they just ain't what they used to be. In the 60th minute, I picked out a moment of Zach Steffen in distribution. Steffen has the ball with the U.S. back into their own half. He picks out Yunus Musa, who immediately lays off to an oncoming Adams, and the U.S. are away. I picked out this moment because it wasn't the greatest distribution pass in the world from a goalkeeper, but it was a brave one. It's one I don't think that we see Turner attempt. I think Turner is much safer with the ball, and if not, he's either booting this upfield or he's kicking it out of bounds. Steffen has the confidence in himself to play it up to Musa, and of course Musa makes a really nice layoff, and the U.S. are away. So this is the element that Steffen brings to the team that we lack whenever Matt Turner's on the field. In the 61st minute, the camera shows Darlington Nagbe on the sideline, and just every time I remember Darlington Nagbe exists, I get a little disappointed because if you look at this U.S. men's national team as it's currently set up, what are we missing, man? We're missing a veteran player that's been around the block that could come into this midfield especially and just be a rock for this team. We're missing a midfielder who is super comfortable in possession, just a player that people can play to and kind of get us out of trouble. And we're missing midfield depth. We saw against Panama whenever our top players are out, and we got to play guys like Leggett and Acosta. Things just don't work out. So I just feel like, man, if Darlington Nagbe decided to play for this squad, decided to come and represent his country again, it would be such a boost for this team. In the 65th minute, we get a bit of luck that leads to our second goal. Weston McKennie attempts to find Musa streaking down the right flank, but his pass instead finds a Costa Rica defender. The rebound bounces very favorably to Dest, who immediately plays in Weah. Weah had immediately made a run in behind. Weah takes the ball and with his first time shot unleashes a cannon of a right-footed shot that deflects off the near post, hits the keeper, and then spins into the back of the net. So 2-1 USA. So in this moment, we see a mistake by Costa Rica that's immediately pounced upon. Dest and Weah had just been playing so flawlessly and seamlessly, and then Weah just his comfort, we know about his finishing. We know about how he's just an operator in the final third. He makes the perfect decision here. Just a really nice, well-taken shot. Now, to be fair, if Keylor Navas is in goal, is that a goal right there? Probably not. Navas probably handles that. But Navas is not in goal, so 2-1 USA. We find our go-ahead goal, and I finally exhale for the first time in about 65 minutes watching this game. In the 72nd minute, we get a moment that a lot of the fans have been waiting for. Yedlin and Hoppy come on, Dest and Weah come off. We get this great moment where Sergino Dest is like taking this victory lap around the stadium and just shaking hands and kissing babies and smiling for selfies and stuff. Really great to see Sergino Dest whenever he's happy and in a good mood and really feeling it. Hopefully that confidence moves forward and we start to see this Sergino Dest away. We see the Sergino Dest game in and game out because whenever he's in it, whenever he's flowing, he is just a special player. So Hoppy comes on and eventually Busio comes on, and these are two of the players that everybody wanted to see. And let's take a moment to talk about Richards, Busio, and Hoppy. There was a moment late in the game where Busio actually put in a cross for Hoppy that the keeper missed, and I guess when the keeper missed, it kind of put off Hoppy a little bit. Maybe there was deflection, but he had an opportunity for a header right there that didn't quite go in. But honestly, I didn't see a lot from Hoppy to really make a huge assessment on his game. I mean, he had like 20 minutes in there, and the ball kind of didn't find him. You can't say that he was as influential as Weah, but I'm kind of inconclusive on Hoppy at the moment. I don't think we had enough to really say much about his game. Busio, on the other hand, Busio had 10 minutes, and in his 10 minutes, he hit a lot of really nice long balls. We saw some nice moments in possession from him. However, the question about Busio is never, can he hit really nice long balls whenever he has time and space? The question about Busio is what happens whenever he's away in CONCACAF or he's up against a squad that's really physical and really putting pressure on him. If there's a lot of transition moments, how does Busio hold up? And we really didn't get to see that at all. So we know what Busio's strengths are. We need to really see his weaknesses tested. Not something we got to see in this game. So something to see moving forward. But at least we can say that both of those players got caps. Now, Chris Richards, on the other hand, he ends up going 90 minutes in this game. A player that we really wanted to see. I think, to be fair to Chris Richards, this was his first World Cup qualifying cap and really the first cap that he's gotten with the national team in a long time. So with Hoffenheim, we see Richards as this really confident player that's playing a lot of balls in behind and really confident on the ball and sometimes can just a big-time defender one-on-one. In this game, I'm not sure that we really saw that. I feel like he was a little bit hesitant. He had some okay moments. His moments in the build-up were really good. They were really silky smooth throughout the game. And I think he might have hit a line-breaking pass or two. But I feel like with Richards, it's going to take a few games before he gains that confidence in himself with the national team. And we'll really start seeing that player that we see with Hoffenheim, that player that we're all really excited about. Just tremendous to see him get on the field. And I'm glad that he put in a solid 90 minutes and got the win. So hopefully that means moving forward in the next window, we'll be seeing more and more Chris Richards, especially considering, I don't want to name any names, but some of the center backs in this qualifier, especially in the game against Panama, just didn't put a great game together. So there it was. The October World Cup qualifying window has come and gone, and the U.S. has gotten 6 points. And it's not the 7 points or the 9 points that we really wanted coming in. However, because the other teams around us are just not getting the points they should be getting, the U.S. is still sitting fairly pretty in second place in World Cup qualifying. But I think the story for this window is going to be that game against Panama. That game against Panama was just so incredibly disappointing. It's a game that the first time I really felt like the manager did not put us in a position to win and really cost us any type of chance of getting points, put a lot of players in some really bad positions. So that's going to stick with me for a while. And as far as the wins go, like we saw some really nice moments, and this is the first time I think we really got to see Yunus Musa play and what a player he is and what a difference he makes in the midfield. We got to see that MMA midfield really come together and just show what it can do. We got to see Tim Weah come into the national team and kind of operate there. So that's good. Pepe once again gets his goals in Jamaica, so that's good. We get the debut of Chris Richards, so that's good. But realistically, we beat a really bad Jamaica team that at the moment, could be good later on, but at the moment does not have its stuff together. And then we beat a really old Costa Rica team at home. So these are two games that we most certainly should have won, and they're not really games that we can really learn a lot about this squad from. So we did what we had to do, but for me, it wasn't even the bare minimum, because the bare minimum was getting a point in Panama, and we failed to do so. So it's still tricky, and the toughest part, or maybe it's a blessing in disguise, is that in the next window, the next window is absolutely huge. We got 2 games, and the first one is that home game to Mexico, and it's an opportunity for the U.S. to really, if we get 3 points against Mexico, we'll really be in a good position to qualify. So what were your thoughts on the game? What were your thoughts on like Chris Richards coming in, Busio coming in, Hoppy coming in? Were you excited about this game, or are you like me and that Panama game is still kind of overshadowing everything, and is going to overshadow everything for at least until the end of that Mexico game? If we can get 3 points from Mexico, I'll feel a little bit better then. Let me know in the comments section, as always. Si puede hablar español, dígame un comentario en español para que puedo practicar mi español. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't done that yet. Hit that like button so we can get this video to go far and wide on the interwebs. If you really want to support the channel, you can become a member, get access to all the behind the scenes chats and the videos and stuff like that. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Sam, and this is the Yank Report.